This is Gemara in Shavuos, Daf Gimel. We're holding the bottom of Beis Mebeis, Baruch Hashem. The start of a new Masechta, a long and lengthy Mishnah on Daf Beis. And as we dive deeper into the Masechta, starting the Gemara on Daf Gimel, we like to dedicate today's shir as an incredible schos, Refuah Shalema for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva B'siyata D'Shmaya. The ultimate Koyach HaTorah should bring Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva a complete Refuah Shalema Gemura Emirza Hashem. So says the Gemara, Mechdi, Tana Mimakoi Solik. Says the Gemara, a very classical start to the Gemara. What was the last Masechta? It was Makis. So says the Gemara, Maishna, Titani Shavuos. Why next after Makis comes Shavuos? So says the Gemara, you know why Shavuos comes after Makis? Misham Titani, Chayiv al Roish Tayim, the end of Makis ended off. You're chayiv in the sugya of payah, when you're rounding off the head, you're chayiv two for the roish. Achaz mikan, one on each side of the head. As we turn over to Gimel Amud Aleph, and the Gemara there in Makis continued, Valazakein, and on the beard, what do you chayiv? You're as well chayiv shtayim, you're chayiv two. Valazakein, excuse me, shtayim mikan, one, two on each side of achaz milmata. Chado de mechayiv Allah tarti, both of which are one which are chayiv two. Each of these is a double aveira. So similarly, backing off of this musig, off of this concept of achashem shtayim shein arba, that each one, the zak in the beard, is two and one. It's a one act that obligates two. Therefore, Tani Shavuos shtayim shein arba. Therefore, we learn about Shavuos a similar musig shtayim shein arba. If we look at Rashi on the last wide line, Rashi really articulates a little bit better. Chada, it's one azhara. I said one action. It's one azhara. The mechavel eitarti chayiv two for it. Hanudomia the shtayim shein arba. It's very similar to two, which is four, and that's why we continue into Shavuos. So says the Gemara. Okay, so that's why we go from Makis to Shavuos. So says the Gemara. Okay, so that's why we went to Shavuos. But why did the Mishnah go into the whole litany of different cases of Yedias Atoma, of Shabbos, etc., of all the cases of Shtayim Shein Arba? When we learn Masechta Shabbos, and as well regarding the Goyim, over there, it does not go into the whole list. It just talks about that one case. So why by us does it go into the whole case? Answers the Gemara, Amri, Shavuos, v'yedias atoma, the Gabi Adadi Ksivan, Shavuos and Yedias Atoma are psukim next door to each other, and V'dam Adadi, they're similar to one another. In what way? B'karban Ayla, as we saw at the end of the Mishnah, Yedias Atoma has this unique carbon, a carbon Ayla, that Ayla v'yarid, depends on wealth. The wealthy person, an animal, the less a bird, and the less a mincha. Therefore, and the similar concept is by Shavuos. Therefore, we learned them next door to each other. And once, so we started with Shavuos. Then we go into Yedias Atoma because it's similar. Now, once you did those two, therefore, Tani Kulu, therefore we listed the others of Shabbos, etc. Says the Gemara, Pasach b'Shavuos, U'mefarsh Yedias Atoma, which really we pointed out when we read the Mishnah, that when the Mishnah starts explaining the cases, it says, Shavuos shtayim shein arba. Then it says Yedias Atoma. Then it says the cases of Yedias Atoma. What happened to the cases of Shavuos? Answers the Gemara, Aidi dezutron milayu pasik shari lehu. Says the Gemara, since Toma are not so many, since the cases of Toma was a lengthy Mishnah, but there's not that many dinim, therefore we said all of them. And then we're going to circle back around, other than Shavuos and Nefishim Milayu, then we're going to talk about the cases of Shavuos, which are more than the cases of Toma. Continues the Gemara literally on that detail. Shavuos shtayim shein arba. What is this? Shavuos, two which is four. Says the Gemara, shtayim, you know two is Sha'achal v'shaloi achal. So made a shvua, either I will eat something or I will not eat something. What sheheina arba, which is achalti, v'shaloi achalti. Another two which is 4 means 2 plus 2. So eichel and lo eichel, and then achalti and lo achalti. Both one in the present and what future present, one in the past. Yedias atoma shayin shein arba, which is what? Shtayim yedias atoma kodesh v'yedias tomas mikdash shein arba, which is kodesh u mikdash. Says the Gemara, Yitzia is a Shabbos, are the 2 dots, 8 lines on the wide lines. Shtayim shein arba, what's that? As we learned back in Mesechah Shabbos, Haitzah the ani v'Haitzah the Baal Bayis. Whether the ani sticks out his hand, that's the person outside. Whether the Baal Bayis sticks out his hand, that's the person inside. Shein arba, which is what? Hachnasa the ani from outside pulls his hand in, or Hachnasa the Baal Bayis from inside pulls his hand in. That's 2, which is 4. Marais negoyim shein arba is what? Shtayim seis and baheres. Those are 2 forms of sarah. Shein arba, which is what? Seis vitol dasa, baheres vitol dasa. So after going through all the different cases, says the Gemara, 2 lines on the white lines, Mani mas nisan. Who is the Tana of the Mishnah? Says the Gemara, Lo Rabbi Yishmael v'lo Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yishmael, if you're going to tell me it's Rabbi Yishmael, Hamar, but he says, Rabbi Shmuel holds you only chayiv a shvua karbanot leviyared if you make a shvua about the future. Rabbi Akiva, if we're talking about Rabbi Akiva, Hamar al helem tomo chayiv ve'no chayiv al helem mikdash. That only if you're not aware that you are tummy is there a chayiv, but not if you're not aware that the place you're going is the Beis HaMikdash. So says the Gemara, seemingly the Mishnah is not going to fit with neither Rabbi Yishmael nor Rabbi Akiva. So explains the Gemara in the second wide line, Iba Yisem Rabbi Yishmael, Iba Yisem Rabbi Akiva, Iba Yisem Rabbi Yishmael. So what was the problem if we said it's Rabbi Yishmael? Rabbi Yishmael said only Chayv al Asil Lavoi. So explains the Gemara, Mehen Lachiv, O Mehen Libtur. You're right. It's only La'asil Lavoi. What does Shtayim Shein Arba means? It means some which are Chayiv and some which are Pater. Chayiv, it's going to be Al Asil Lavoi, and Pater will be not. Similarly, in the fact that Rabbi Akiva said only Chayiv on Tobas Mikdash and not Kodshim, opposite on Kodesh and not Mikdash, will be Me'en L'Chiyav U'Mehem Liptur. So says the Gemara, something makes no sense over here. Liptur, what does that mean? That you're not chayiv? What's the Mishnah teaching us? Says the Gemara as we turn over to Gimel and Beis, really articulating the question. Hadumya demaris negayim. You're telling me that in order to fit with either Rabbi Shmuel or Rabbi Akiva, what does it mean? It means 2, which is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. Some chayiv, some not. But 1 second. The Mishnah equated it with Maris and the Goyim Katani. Ma'asav kul l'chiyuv, chanami kul l'chiyuv, but Maris the Goyim, they're all chayiv. So the same thing should be by the other cases. Answers the Gemara 3 lines down, Gimel and Beis, La'ilam Rabbi Yishmael. V'chiloi mechayiv Rabbi Yishmael lisha avar is carbon. When did Rabbi Yishmael say there's only a chiyav la'aseh lava in the future? For a shvuah and oath that you take about the future? That is what? A carbon. But, klape, if you made a shvuah on what you did, aval malkis, chayuv mechayiv. Klape, the chiyuv malkis, you're yes chayiv, even on the past, according to Rabbi Yishmael. Uchede Rava, as Rava teaches, Dama Rava, befeirish ripsa Torah, shvuah sheker. The Torah explicitly mentions Shvuah Sheker Dumya de Shvuah Shav. That what? Ma Shav l'Shavar Av Sheker Nami Lishe Ovar. So the Gemara wants to explain that really it's Rabbi Yishmael. And what does it mean? Rabbi Yishmael is only mechayiv on the future. That means a carbon. And like Shitas Rava. So asks the Gemara, 8 lines down, the first one line is Bishlama Gimel and Beis. Bishlama Chalti v'lo Chalti Kidarava. If Shad is made a shvuah, I ate or I did not eat, then it makes sense like Rava. Shaloi oichel, I will not eat, or ve'ochel nami. One more time. Shaloi oichel, he makes a sure I will not eat, and he eats. Nami lav sheish b'maisa. So you did an action, you ate. Who? So it makes sense, is Malchus. Elo oichel, if you made a shvuah, I will eat. And how do you violate such a shvuah? By not eating. V'lo yochal. What's the problem? Amai. Why are you going to be chayim Malchus? It's a lav she'ein boy maiso. You didn't do an action. Answers the Gemara classically. Kiksav Rav Yishmael lav she'ein boy maisa. Loikin alav. So says the Gemara, now that opened up the Pandora's box. If you're going to tell me we're talking about a lav she'ein by mice, there's no actual action. And yet, there's a chiyuv. What's the problem? Kasha de Rav Yochanan, the Amar Rav Yochanan. Why? Because Rav Yochanan taught us halacha kistam mishnah, which is ours, vitmar. And the problem is, we learned elsewhere, Shvuah sha'oichal kikar zayom. Make sure I'll eat this bread today. V'avar ayom today bas lo yochal. Achla. Rav Yochanan reish shal yishtam tevayo. Einoi loike. Wait, so Rav Yochanan's pass like our Mishnah, lav she'ein boy ma'is, yes, Malchus. Then he can't pass it over there that there's no Malchus. Rav Yochanan amar einoi loike. Why? We should not be lav she'ein boy ma'is, lav she'ein boy ma'isa. Ein loike love. So that's our steer of Yochanan. We just finished the brisa. Rish Lakish areina like a why asra safik uvasra safik lo shmei asra. You can't give asra for the future because you don't know if the person will violate. Says the Gemara, good kasha, but Rav Yochanan stamachrina ashkach. Rav Yochanan has a different stomach. So in as much as you have our stam mishnah that he seemingly should basket like, he has a different stam mishnah. Says Gemara, really, hey stama. Ilema hastama the tanan the stam mishnah says avalam moiser betar. Says the mishnah psachim. Someone leaves over the carbon pesach is tar. Excuse me. Someone leaves over tahar carbon pesach. Or v'ashayver, when it breaks the bone, bitami of a carbon pesach, let's tamei. Einoi loikes arbayim does not get malchus. So bishlam shaver betami, you break the bone, that's tamei, you don't get malchus. Why? They'll say that's l'sishru by because you're talking about kosher carbon v'loy bepasel. V'avla meiser betar, you leave over the meat, that's tar. My time. What's the reason there's no malchus? La mishom navelav she'ein by ma'isa chalav she'ein by ma'isa ein loikin olav. That's going to be the stam mishnah that Rav Yochanan will go with. Says the Gemara, not so fast. Umimai de Rabbi Yaakov. How do you know that Mishnah and Psachim and Marcus is Rabbi Yaakov? He damar lav shein b'may saying like in love. Damar Rabbi Yehudi. Umisham deba kozli d'naseach leis. If you remember, we have this again. Malchus. There's two reasons for lav shein b'may you don't get Malchus. One is inherently, it's a lav shein by Maisa. But there's another reason, which is Shitas Rabbi Yehuda, which is what? That any time the Torah gives you the way to rectify it, the asay after the loisa asay, hola avachi. But if that's not the prescription of the Torah, then lucky. Then you would yes get Malchus. Titania, this should sound familiar. We learned this a few weeks ago. Don't leave over from the Korban Pesach, but if you do, you have to burn it. Because it's fundamental. So says the Gemara, so that stomach cannot work. Ella, we're going to stop over here. Still looking for the stam mishnah that Rabbi Yochanan holds Lav Shiva Maisa in Loikin Love. Pick it up from here. B'siyata Dishmaya.